410 access road. Not only is it 4.1 miles to get from the Lincoln Financial Field, to 17th and John F. Kennedy Boulevard, going up, taking access road, going up to all the way up Broad Street, going around JFK, 4.1 miles. It's between 21 to 23 minutes, depending on the traffic time. That Eagles game that's going to be played at the Lincoln Financial Field, there's two games that play on Saturday. I believe, from what I remember last time, now nothing was announced yet, but from what I remember last year, on Saturday, there was two games. One of them started at 3 p.m., the other one started at 6 or 6:30, something close to that. Then Sunday comes around, they played a regular 1:15 game, and then 4:15. On the 5th of January would be Sunday, and at 4:10 p.m. that would be when the those jet fighters that fly by on the Pet Goat 2 video, when they fly by, as you see here, they drop one bomb, but it spreads 5 different directions, which is telling you that the elite's 5th trumpet is here. I'm telling you, that's the 6th trumpet. When the truth gets shut down, it's the 6th trumpet. But this part here, showing this football field and jet fighters flying over the stadium, according to the world script, these jet fighters are going to be terrorists, and they're going to hit the field at 4:10. It's just one theory, because a 4:10 access road, and at 4:10 the Independence Hall, the clock on the back of the $100 bill, I don't know if it's the older bill or the newer one, but the clock shows 4:10 on the back of a $100 bill, Independence Hall. And you conveniently have 4.1 miles to the ending of the Corpus Christi. That is the exact, also the path to destruction that Kleck's showing you. 50 miles per hour, the $50 bill, 8 Penn Center, the 8th building has to collapse. It's so many different things that lines up to 17th and John F. Kennedy Boulevard, along with this Comcast tower that's giving you a landmark. Because it has the indent, the look of the indent. And then of course Willie's chopped off right there, fell down into the ocean. Don't you find that a little bit too convenient? That it's 4:10. But again, it's just a theory. could be dead wrong with everything. I could be wasting my time day in and day out. I could be doing so much more with my time. Even though, well, not really, because I don't have access to anything or the resources for anything. So even if I didn't do this, I would just have extra time on my hands. Thank God that, He allowed me to understand some things, because I prayed to God to ask Him to help me understand what it is that I need to know to figure out what these Bearcats are doing. What are all these Bearcats doing that go from scene to scene? They go from world-dominating news event to world-dominating news event. Like, they travel. They do it live. See, if God runs your life, is that really free will? Do you really have free will if God is running your life? Well, of course you do, because when you're allowing Him the energy to take over, whether you need to use positive energy or negative energy, whether you got to use good or evil, when you use both of them to your advantage, well then, you're relying on God to take over, but you're allowing God to take over. It's like with any spirit that you have. If you allow the spirit to take over, then that's how you're going to be. If it's a good spirit, then you're good. If it's not, then it ain't. I mean, then it runs your life. But there are a lot of people that are Luciferians, that you're a Luciferian, like whatever you consider yourself, if that's what it is. Or even an atheist, you just don't believe in God because you tried that route. You tried praying, you had some situations that happened, you couldn't believe that God would allow it to happen. A lot of times people have deaths in their family and they don't understand how God can allow that to happen. Just understand this, everybody dies eventually, one way or another. The free will part of it is when you're giving it over to Him and you're asking and praying for that understanding and that strength, you're now submitting to allowing the higher power to come into your vessel and take control whenever and whenever with whatever it is. Therefore, whatever the Spirit is doing inside of you and you're in agreement with it, well then we are at free will. If you're being forced to do things, and that's what's happening here. That's why they're going to try to force us to take the mark of the beast, to take the chip and the mark and the whatever they're trying to do. And it's a force. The God of forces. That's not free will, the God of forces, because you're forced to do things. That God is the exact opposite of the loving Creator. However, that's also a God. It's a God. It's something, whatever it is that you worship is a God. But we all, I think, understand, or maybe we don't, that there's only one God that actually created the flesh out of the dirt from the ground. There's only one God that did that. We all know that we're not that God, right? I mean, we all do know that, right? Is there somebody out there that thinks that they are the God the Father, the one that created the heavens and the earth and everything in it, and humans and animals and trees. No, we're not ever, nobody's going to be that God. However, when you're praying to God, which is the source creation, and you're looking to have something done on planet Earth, you have to be the one to do the groundwork when you're praying. So when people have prayed to God in their life and they never got an answer and they never heard him, well, I never heard him either, but I do get answers. Because the answers come in a way that they're not with words. Although you can hear them from other people's mouths. And that is your answer. That's how I get a lot of answers through Kleck, just listening to him. I mean, he's giving it away, everything. And this is that time now. So, but the people that have known Kleck and heard of him for years on end before me, you know, you heard him say this stuff before, but now is the time. Now is the time. He ain't playing anymore. He's ready to get his 2020 vision on. So if you're waiting for God to answer your prayers, what are you doing about it when you're praying for whatever it is that you need help with? Why would God allow suffering to happen? Well, did you ever think of it like this? Every generation, that's all people said. That's all they would say is, why would God allow this to happen? Why would he allow it to happen? Continually. Suffering, people die, people live their entire lives poor or in pain or crippled or whatever. And why would God allow that to happen? I say the same thing. I've asked myself the same damn question. God, why do you allow deaths? Why do you allow people to kill other people? Like, why don't you stop it? Because he's not the God of forces. When you're looking to stop life, how it is, and control what people do, and then give them free will by only giving them two options that you came up with, that's the God of forces. That God will stop anything and get involved with you in your life and create things that divert your attention this way. That God does that. God the Father, he doesn't intervene with people's lives. You heard what the Bible said. God will do nothing except reveal the secrets to his prophets. So when you're praying to God and you're looking for him to do something for you, are you doing anything about it, or are you just lazily sending up a lazy prayer? Or are you a prayer warrior are you someone that loves to pray in front of people? Why? Aren't you supposed to go in secret and pray in secret in your chamber? Or do you want to be heard for all your words and how eloquent you are with your prayers? If anybody has their own channel on YouTube, you do realize you can say whatever you want to say, right? If you don't, then you're just allowing other thoughts to take control, which come from spirits. Spirits give you thoughts, especially the past thoughts. They love just whispering to you and getting you to think of the things in the past instead of getting over it. So generation after generation after generation, people have asked themselves, why would God allow this to continue to happen? And nobody did anything about it. They would just ask that question. They wouldn't do anything about it. I've asked before, God, why do you allow these people to lie to us like this on TV? And how are you going to just allow them to kill us after we know what they're doing? Because this was like before I started my YouTube channel. because I had that question myself. I was just like anybody else who didn't hop on social media basically ever in their life. I had MySpace for a couple months, but that was back before I met my wife, and it was not my thing. So I hop on YouTube April 2nd, 2017. April 2nd, 4/2. Tomorrow will be my 1000th day. Hey, today's day number 999 for my YouTube career. And so it'll be 1000 days tomorrow. 1000 days. I've been at it. I've been trying to figure out why God would allow. Number one, why would he allow these people to shoot each other as mass murderers that were happening on TV? Why is he allowing that to happen? Then I realized, oh, okay, I get it. It's all staged. But why are you allowing that to happen, God? Why do you keep allowing that part to happen throughout the world? Because I'm sick of it. I'm sick of you allowing that to continue on. I'm tired of it myself. So, generation after generation after generation, when people are tired and sick and tired of people being your slave master, and you're always working for them, and they don't ever give what they have, which is much of everything. When you're sick of that, and you finally decide to get up and do something, well then guess what? God's going to answer your prayers because you actually did something about it. While the rest of the world, from generation to generation after generation, had the same complaint, didn't do anything about it. Maybe they didn't have enough faith in God because they didn't do it themselves. Again, God is God. The creation, there's only one like it. We are like God. We're made in his image. We are like God. Haven't he said that ye are all gods? Well, we can all create, right? I mean, you can create a baby from the male to the female, and then miraculously a baby is born inside of the womb of the mother, and then it's born 9 months later. You can't create that seed. It came from God, who created us out of the dirt. Now, that's how we can be like God, because we can actually create life. And because people are murderers, they can end people's lives too. I'm pretty sure some people that are still watching on the other end of this camera hole would love to see my life ended. Mainly because they had it easy the last 1000 days. And then once I came along, I started to give them a challenge. And then they could, that one troll couldn't beat me. And then he got a legion of others, and they all came over, and then they tried, and they couldn't do it. And then they leached on, and then they clung with flatteries, and then they tried to get me that way. And then the clay just it couldn't mingle well, it couldn't mix well with the iron, and it fell off. And then they continued on, and then they couldn't do it. So then that's when Steve got that. Look, this is how I got Stephen James DeShawn's attention. The king of media there, that's under in Michigan. He is top commando of these people that he has in charge. They couldn't shut me up. So therefore they had to bring in the boss. And then the boss got up from behind the computer and put his face in front of the computer and started to show who he was. I don't think he was ever going to do that. I think he was just going to be somebody that he would have probably shown a couple videos from clips, be like the faceless type, like the Call for an Uprising and those types of channels. They don't have a face, but I got him to get up, and then he had to try to come after me by befriending me and then using Harold Camping through gematria, which is exactly what he did, and he got me. I took the bait, I did. And then I got suckered into believing some of the things, and then I got suckered into believing that like the satyrs and those guys were actually true people just trying to look for truth, and they weren't trying to troll me. I didn't realize that you guys had a king over you, the bottomless pit there. And then I understand that Kleck is playing the face of the king in the bottomless pit, so he's playing Steve's role. And then he couldn't stop me. And then I made it worse for him, because then I just attacked him with the truth, with what he is, who he is, what he's saying. Then I really started to catch on. Then I was catching on to what Trump was doing and saying, and then how they're the same. And then I caught on to Kleck and what he's doing. And then it's like all three unclean frogs playing the same role. They're all playing the Messiah role. Every one of them, in their own different way. So then Steve basically went in retirement because he couldn't even stop one person with his army. And then I kept talking day in and frickin' day out, and day in and day out, and day in and day out. So for the last 1,000 days, I don't know how many days I didn't do videos. I know the 16th of last month, I think it was, for some reason my video didn't. I recorded it, but I don't know. Maybe I deleted it too fast. I don't know. And then before that, the only day I missed was between 2017, the end of 2017, that week, the 25th, Christmas to the 28th, I didn't get on YouTube at all. I didn't upload any videos, and then the last 3 days, right before New Year's Eve, I got back on and was commenting, watching videos, and then I believe I made a final video on New Year's Eve, and I made fun of everybody because I thought it was getting shut down. But then from that point on, the beginning of 2018 till now, I made a video every day. I talked every day. So for those 2 times, 365 days, is that 750, 700, is that 750 days straight? So for 750 days straight, nobody can shut me up. Ain't that something? For the people that have thoughts that run rampant and you think you can't control your thoughts because they're just like all over the place, you can. Because you have to understand this. All humans are wired the same. We all have brains, and I mean, some of us don't think, but that's not literal. You're not thinking clearly. Everybody thinks, and your thoughts never stop. They're constantly running. Why do you think when your body finally collapses from exhaustion and you go to sleep, why do you think you're still dreaming and you're in another world and you're just like, things are so going by so fast? That's why dreams don't make too much sense, because everything flies by and you only get bits and pieces of what you remember. But I don't shut up. I used to not talk. Now I don't shut up. And it was like a transformation, because I am not used to talking to people, and then I hop on YouTube and I can't stop. I can't help myself, because you're making me sick. Everybody's making me sick that is lying and acting on TV. And so then I got up and did something about it. So when I prayed to God to help me to understand what's going on here, I understand that as I'm praying, the main thing that I'm doing is I'm bringing awareness to myself out loud, and I can pray out loud and let Satan hear me, let AI over here listen to my my prayers, and that's how they know what you're saying at all times. That's how they know your deepest, darkest secrets, because they're watching all the time. Or, you can just pray out loud because you feel like it. Regardless, you're making it consciously aware to yourself what it is that you need help with. And then you are the one that does the work. For instance, when you pray, God, give me the strength to fast for 3 days straight. Give me the strength to fast and the remembrance of my desire to do so. Fine, okay. It's like putting it's like your prayer is like a recording. The recording is the prayer. You record it, and then when you almost forget that you were going to fast for these 3 days, you push the recording in your own mind. You remember what you said. Wait a minute, I wanted to fast for 3 days. Oh yes, I prayed for remembrance. Hey, thanks God for reminding me. You were the one that made it consciously aware to yourself of the issue that you're having, and then the strength to fulfill and surpass the issue. That way you can finally stomp those 3 days down and fast. And then when you start fasting, that's when you'll start understanding where your thoughts are coming from. I can only tell you how they get there. They're just injected. When you're talking to yourself, who are you talking to? You have one spirit that's completely good, the other spirit that's completely necessary. Do you have good and evil? Well, yeah, you can be purely evil, but a Luciferian's not. You're not a purely evil person. And that's what the misconception has been. Just like a Christian is, you are not perfect. Nobody was ever perfect. But, well, Jesus was perfect. Was he? Was he perfect? Wasn't he a human being just like us? Can you imagine somebody who's a human being right now telling you that they're Jesus Christ in the flesh, but yet they never committed a sin? Wouldn't you want to slap them? Yeah, so what's the difference between 2,000 years ago? Was Jesus made out of some kind of special flesh that wasn't drawn or magnetized to sin whatsoever? Is that the way it is? You just got to ask yourself these questions. So Christians have always been looked at as they're perfect, but they've always been like, a lot of them have been big fat hypocrites. And then Luciferians have always been looked at wrong. I've looked at you guys wrong too, because not all of yous are liars. That's just a characteristic of a Luciferian doctrine, which is some of them love to lie. They love to lie. But for the most part, Luciferians, in real life, I'm not talking, see, the thing is, here's the thing, YouTube's different. I understand you guys gotta lie. I get it. You gotta pretend that you're not from the inside. You gotta pretend you don't know Steve. I get what you're doing. I'm saying after that's done, that part, you guys probably even feel bad a little bit for lying. You're tired of lying. Who feels like lying all the time? Don't you just rather be honest? Because you guys are brutally honest. Brutally honest. My wife would say sometimes, well, that's mean. I'm like, well, but is it true? Well, yeah, but then it's not mean, is it? And I don't care if it hurts somebody's feelings. If it hurts your feelings, then your feelings need to get hurt for whatever it is that's being said about whatever it is that you're doing or not doing. Are you praying to God for this, that, and the other thing, and nothing ever goes your way? Well, it's a lazy prayer because you're not doing anything about it. And then you're going to blame God when you don't get results. In other words, you're being a selfish hypocrite, because God is there to help you with the energy that He creates, but you also have to do the work with whatever it is that you're praying for. This end of the world business, it's not the end of Earth, it's the end of the world. It's the end of this Pet Goat 2. It's the end of Jonathan Kleck. It's the end of all of the lies, the deception, everything. That's what it's the end of. I was sick of it. 1,000 years, yeah, that too. 999 days ago, I couldn't take it anymore. So I hopped up on YouTube and made a video about my dog as I was thinking about, wow, that's pretty cool. I can get up on YouTube. Maybe I can show what I'm seeing, you know? Like, does anybody else see this? So I stood up and did something about it. Instead of just praying to God and waiting for Him to just make it happen somehow. That's why people don't believe in God. They don't have faith because they've prayed this way. Nothing has ever happened, and they were too lazy to do anything to help themselves. It's a lazy prayer. You're not going to get anywhere that way. You don't even have to know who Christ is to be like Christ. You can be the top Luciferian like Stephen James and Sean is and have Christ in his heart. He will still be a Luciferian. But it's a converted Luciferian into a Christoferian. I've converted myself into a Christoferian. It's my religion because I'm taking both sides and I'm telling this hypocrite Christian side to shut up and stop judging what the Luciferian side does when it comes to certain things. Now, when it comes to other things, if you're righteously judging, well, then you're righteously judging. But everybody always thinks they are when they're not, because they're being hypocrites themselves. And then they forget about what they've used to done, or what they have said, or how they used to talk, or how whatever it is that they do. They're just being hypocrites. So I'm taking this side and that side, and I'm taking what I can learn from the Luciferian side without hurting anybody, because what it truly is, Lucifer is here to get your ass back the frickin' line with God so he can rest. That's all it is. Satan's tired of everybody coming to him all the time, needing his help. He's sick of it. He wants to rest for the next 1,000 years. If you have a problem with the way things are, do something about it. If you're praying, don't just pray to him. Do something about it.